And we're live. All right. I'm loving
Live
this
from
new system.
Slidell, Louisiana. What? What'd you say?
Live from it's Bernard Ori. Dun, 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 dun.
Slidell, Louisiana. Nobody knows where that is.
Nobody. All right. Well, then a little larger, Chicago, Illinois, right outside of Chicago.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not in Chicago either. Like I'm not in New Orleans, but I'm near New Orleans. And you know what put New Orleans or Slidell on the map is Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane
Ouch.
Katrina.
Ouch.
It, that everybody knew Slidell then because we flooded for Katrina and then it was on the news and it was the first time ever when I traveled. People are like, "Oh, I know where Slidell is." And Katrina didn't actually flood New Orleans. It was a few days later. The water was still heavy on our side of the lake, and the levees broke and went and flooded them just after from everything just being saturated in high water for a little while. But yeah, so Slidell, Louisiana, and Eddie in Chicago. We're going to talk a little bit about goals today. Woo, so exciting! I think some people get a little nervous about. I don't think I don't think there's an in between there. I think some people are like, "Oh yeah, I set goals, great idea," and they just never do it. And I think the feeling is, I don't know what that means, or I don't want to, I don't know how it works, or I'm just going to get a little better each day. And I think the biggest fear is like, what am I supposed to put down? How much bigger than what I'm doing right now am I supposed to put? And I think correct me if I'm wrong if you think this, but when people don't ever know anything about this, never done any studying, and people say, do you set goals? I think most people probably think they just mean money, right? I mean, what else do people set goals for in their life? Like to make more money. What other broad category do you think
No.
people are
Lose
talking
weight.
about?
I agree
Lose
with you.
weight. Yes,
Money is
yes.
probably a really big one, and then lose
No,
weight
you're
is
right.
probably up there.
Weight would be the other one, right? So money and weight would be the two biggest ones. Obviously, there's a lot of areas, and some of you guys listening are already saying the list. I'd love for you guys to put that down in the comments below. What other areas do you set goals in? We're going to talk about a few here today, but I want to know what people set goals in, like what areas. But yeah, weight might actually be bigger than money now that you say that. I don't know why I didn't think about that, but for me, I never struggled a lot. I'm a little heavier than I'd like to be, so I never made huge goals on weight. For me, it was always like, I got to do better financially. And then as I grew as a person, more things in my life started to come into play. You know, you get married, you have a wife, you have children, you start thinking, when you start getting unbalanced and you start making money that main goal in your life, those other things suffer. So then you're forced to make those goals. Like, I got to make it a goal to do something better with the marriage. And then, oh, what about the kids? I probably should spend some more time with
You're
them
right.
too. Make them better people. So sometimes when you're young, making more money might be the only goal you actually need to move forward in your life.
Well, and it's the
But
only thing you can think about because it's the only thing that, like your circle, your vision is so small, so
limited.
narrowed, limited, right?
Right. When did you start thinking about goals for your life? At what age? Do you remember
Oh,
ever?
I do. Unfortunately, I do. I was 13,
Okay.
and yeah, it was a very messed up time in my life. So it was I had to become an adult, and I had to support myself, and I had to take care of my sister and my brother and my mother by myself. You know, it would let life kicks you in the butt. You don't get to choose the cards you're dealt, but you do get to choose how you play your hand. So
Yeah.
don't become a victim of your own making. You know,
Right.
you are the main character of your own story.
Wow.
How old were you when you started setting goals? Do you remember? Follow that
Uh,
up.
yeah, I can't follow that up. I had had a pretty good life. We all can complain about our life and say it could have been better. I was mistreated. I should have been treated so much better, you know. Um, I was pretty lucky. Two parents that stayed together, still together. I remember. I guess I was pretty I don't think I'd call it entitled, because I know a few little comments I would make, I'd get smacked in the mouth back when you could do that in public. My mom would be like, "Don't talk like that." So we, but I do remember getting dropped off at the game room. Remember when the game room was a big deal when we were
Yeah,
kids?
sure.
All the Defender, Asteroids, Pac-Man, when it all first came out, game rooms were so huge that people were skipping school to go to game rooms during the day, and we had one real close to our high school. And I just remember my mom dropping me and my brother off because we wanted to be there for a few hours or whatever, and just giving us rolls of quarters, 4 or 5 rolls of quarters each. And I'm thinking, she had a beauty supply business, and she used to cut hair. And I didn't even realize, like, my friends weren't getting 30, 40, $50 in quarters way back then, each, me and my brother. So we just thought it was normal, but really it was like my parents were doing okay, I mean, not wealthy, but not poor by any means. And so we had these big rolls of quarters in our pockets, and we played for hours on video games that only cost a quarter each back then, so that would last a long
Yeah,
time.
you guys
And
were rolling.
yeah, rolls, literally rolls. And so wow. That's funny. My wife's trying to call me. Does she not know I am live on YouTube right now?
It's I mean, it's not like you do this every week though, right?
Right,
So
right, right, right. So, so anyway, I didn't make any goals as a young person, because we were so well taken care of and nothing to think about. It was a difference. We all go through a struggle at some time, and for me, it was like, wait, what? I got to take care of myself at some point. That
But
was,
when you was young though, but I mean when you're young though, doesn't that count if you say I'm gonna be a baseball player when I grow up, or I'm gonna be a fireman, or I don't know,
yeah.
GI Joe or
Uh,
something?
I don't know. I did like money as a kid, and I would do little things like go in and buy $20 worth of lunch tickets early in the morning at 75 cents a piece, and then sell them during the day for $1, making, because people couldn't. If you didn't have your lunch ticket, you had to get in a different line at
That is
lunch.
awesome.
People, when you went to lunch, if you didn't have a ticket, you had to get in the ticket line, get a ticket, then get in the lunch line. So people would be happy to spend an extra quarter for their lunch to get lunch a little earlier and have more time for free time during this lunch recess time. So I would buy $20 or $30 of lunch tickets most mornings and be sold out by lunchtime and make my $4 or $5, depending on how many. I didn't always sell out, and so I'd make a few dollars every day. And so I had goals there, like to try to get all the tickets sold
So then
before.
that is a goal. So then what I'm talking, I
Yeah,
just got corrected. So I was talking about, like one day when I grow up, I want to be this, right?
yeah,
That's a dream. That's not a goal.
uh,
Yours was you're gonna buy 10 extra lunch tickets or however many,
yeah, yeah.
right? And then sell them all off for a profit.
Right.
That's a goal.
Yeah. And so, I mean, for me, I started to learn that that habits were going to move me forward more than just doing something every single day regularly, changing the way I live. So my goals were usually about how to change my habits, is what I started to learn early on. I have to learn how to do something new. And and so I just remember the first time writing down goals, I was mostly scared that I wasn't going to write the right goals down or in the right categories. How there's no way I can tell the future. So I was like, I don't want to put something down and then not hit it, or even going over that. I didn't want to be so stupid as to put it low and go over it. I was just as scared of too low of a goal as too high of a goal, just completely crippled by fear that I didn't want to put anything down. So I just didn't do it. And so that's where the power of actually writing it down or typing it somewhere and just putting something. And that's where I started to learn and get over myself, get over the stupid fears of who cares? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Nothing.
Nothing, right? You're in the
Right.
same place where you're at.
You're just at maybe you went backwards, maybe you went forward. It's still, you can't control that any more than you can control if you hit the goal necessarily. There is some control you can do, obviously, but if you don't get there, I guess there's some goals if you don't hit, you die. But for the most part, you don't die. Oh, you can maybe be a little embarrassed you didn't make it, but like we were just saying this on Facebook a minute ago. For me, it was just like, just write something down. And I guess maybe a yearly goal is difficult because that seems so far for some people, so far out. I like what you said earlier. Maybe start with smaller goals. What are you going to do different each day or each week?
Yeah.
What goals can you set that you can maybe achieve? And then just to help some people out, let's go into some ways to organize what areas goals should be in.
So there's
Let me do this real quick. The early days, just some simple ones I had used there was a bunch of F's, and I think there was 4 or 5 of them. I can only remember faith, family, and finances. It was like I was really involved with the church, and so it was like, how can I do more in my church, for the church, for people? And then my family might suffer if I was working too much or going to church too much. So I needed faith, family, and I had to do finances to support the other two. So those were my early stages of let's just make goals in those 3 areas. What would you say to that?
Those are core foundations for your life. You know, there are so many books out there, and I really invite everybody to read. Reading is a very powerful thing. It's kind of boring for some people. There's not enough pictures for other people, but reading turns your brain on. Watching TV turns your brain off. YouTube doesn't count. YouTube is different.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something I heard about reading one time, and this is what changed my life. If you don't read, you're no better off than someone who can't.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, I should read.
Yeah.
So we know how complete losers some people can be in life, but because they didn't have good parents, didn't send them to school, or they chose not to go to school and the parents were okay, whatever it is, people just didn't get the education they need, and they're illiterate, they can't read. Look at how tough of a time they have getting by in life. And if you can read, but you got out of school, you're like, I'm done with school, I'm not reading anymore, and you just don't read, that's what you're moving towards. You're slowly moving towards the people who are not able to read.
I am living proof of that. You guys see every week how much I struggle with trying to say a word or trying to pronounce a word, or you know how I love the expressions. I'm always trying to learn a new expression, and majority of the time I don't get it correct, but I still try to say the expression. I am constantly trying to learn and acquire new knowledge and gain new knowledge. It does make life more simple. There are primary things in life that everybody desires, that everybody needs to feel fulfilled. Measuring that, having a system to measure that, you got to be smart about it.
You have a system? Or are you just going to go straight into the system like you're so
I'm going to go straight into this. This is how I'm
going
to
say
segue
what the
us
system
right
is and how it works. Talk about the system.
So systems are put in place to help us stay organized.
Yep.
Faith, family, financials, the 3 F's or the multiple F's or however it is, the SMART goal system. That we're going to talk about the SMART goal system today. It ties in with a lot of other things, and there's a lot of overlap.
So SMART is an acronym.
SMART is an acronym. Now, obviously, it's a cool acronym because you want to be smart. And if you spell the word SMART, S-M-A-R-T, each letter stands for something. And then that's what we're going to go through. So real quick, the S is specific, the M is measure, the A is achievable, the R...
You said it! You couldn't say achievable.
I didn't even realize. I did say it.
Achievable. Go ahead.
Achieve my goal. See? Because I'm in the moment. I'm too excited now. I was thinking too hard about it earlier.
R
is relevant, and T is time bound. So when you break down each one of those things, which we're going to do right now, it keeps you on track. It keeps you focused, because you could get ADD and you can be all over the place like a squirrel and lose track really quick. You can go off the rails real quick. So staying on track and staying focused is what makes you achieve your goals. What makes you profitable in life, in whether it's financial, whether it's faith, or whether it's family. You need a system to do all of that. So this is an example of the S, of being very specific. What specifically are you trying to achieve? What goal are you setting out to do? Don't, like you said earlier, I want to be rich. I want to make a lot of money. That's not a specific goal. How much
Right.
money do you want to make? I want to
A
lose
lot.
weight. A lot, right? I want to lose a lot of weight. Okay, what is a lot of weight? Is that 5 pounds? Is that 10 pounds? Is that 100 pounds? Right. Is a lot of money $100? Is it 1,000? Is it 1,000,000? What is a lot of money? Because it's what's the word? Subjective. To right? It's a very subjective thing. To you, it's one thing. To me, it's something else. So that's where specific comes in. You want to add to that, or is that pretty much rounded up pretty well?
When I start adding to it, I tend to fall into all these other letters of the SMART. So you're gonna have to keep me organized. Yeah, when you say specific, no, let's just go to the next one.
I was very specific with explaining what's specific.
Right, I can't add anything.
So then, once you specifically figure out what you want, now you got to figure out, is it measurable? So measurable is, I wanna be healthy, is not measurable. It's specific. I want to be healthy, but now you got to get even more specific because it's not measurable. I want to lower my blood pressure. You can measure where your blood pressure is at, and you can measure, how much lower you want to get it. Being profitable. I want to be profitable is not specific enough because you can't measure profit. What is being profitable? I want to make $1 million. Okay. Well, I'm broke right now. I have $5. So you can
Right.
measure your bank account growing towards that $1 million.
Right. So, right. And so the thing that comes to mind, again, we talked a little bit about it on Facebook before this. For you guys that are hairdressers, you might want to follow us on the Profitable Stylists. What is the full name of that page? Oh, group. The group is probably the best
Tip
place.
with, Profitable
Hairstylist Tips
Academy.
with their Profitable Stylist Academy. Maybe we could put a link to that here also, because we share probably a little bit more often things during the week there also. And we talked a little bit about a little bit more about specifics in the goals and, like you're saying, measurable, because in our meetings, often building a hairdresser's clientele, we'll be in this group meeting every Wednesday morning, going around the room, asking each person what's their goal for the month, where are they at, and there's always a time during the month, just like we were on the way to work, and I asked my son, where are you at for your goals? And he said, I am not sure yet. I'm going to do them when I get there. And I said, do you know if you're 2/3 of the way through? And he goes, why 2/3? I said, because it's the 20th of the month today, and I'm just assuming there's about 30 days in this month, just like every other one. And I know that maybe some of these days with the holidays, this messes up how many days we actually work. But just roughly, if we're on the 20th of the month, you should be, if we're on the 15th of the month, you should be about halfway through your monthly goal. 20th, about 2/3. So that's kind of what I do. And so then when we go in the room, and if they say, my goal for the month is, I'm gonna make it easy on me, $3,000. Well, I know they should be at $2,000. 2/3 of the way through for the month. So if they're a little above or behind, I can just kind of quickly say, good job. But it's measurable. It's specific. It's something that. So then the next thing that RJ will ask them a lot of times, the newer ones, what are you going to do to grow that? And they will just say something that is not measurable. And to be more specific, we'll talk about Facebook. They're like, I'm going to post on Facebook. How often? Every day. How many times a day? Once a day. Okay. Next week, we'll see if you got.
Well, then that leads into being achievable. Are you able to achieve, like you set yourself a specific goal, you have a way to measure your progress. Now, what are you going to do? Can you achieve what you're setting out to do? That's what you're describing.
Right. So having more clients can be a goal, but you can't, again, make clients walk in the door, and you can't say how many clients you're going to get. You can have a goal to try to get so many new clients, but then you have to have that plan, the actionable steps, the things you can actually do to move towards that goal. And then you'll start to, it gets more complicated then, because then you can see some numbers happen. You'll see that you actually get so many new clients from whatever you did, and it might not be near the goal you need if you start doing the math. And you might realize, you know what? The things that I can actually do, actually measure, actually post, maybe I need to do more of those action steps to make the number happen that I need. So, see, a lot of people will try to say they want or need something that they can't control. And so making it something you can actually control, going out and, I don't know, putting 7 business cards in your pocket the same day every week and deciding I am going to hand this business card, not just hand it out and be like, goodbye, but with a plan. This business card is to remind me that when I hand it to somebody, I need to do certain things. Tell them I'm a hairdresser. Have a conversation. What do you do for a living? I'm a hairdresser. This is my card. I would love to see you in the salon. Have a conversation with them and have certain things that you're got to say each time, like I'm a hairdresser, where I'm located, how long I've been doing hair, and that I'd like to do their hair. Maybe make it a goal to say those 2 or 3 or 4 things. But then, of course, remember, they're humans, and this is a relationship. So you have to add into that some questions about their life. Be interested in them, or they are not going to care about you. So, add in there the converse, how to act. I used to have to do that because I was not comfortable with talking to other people. So I was in a network marketing business, and they kind of taught me that. They taught me to have conversations with people. Just, you got those guys at the parties that are always like, hey, how's your parents? How are your parents doing? Oh, really? And I'm like, you don't care about my you don't even know my parents. But it's part of their spiel. And some come across a little smoother than others, and some actually care. Most don't. And you can kind of tell. But I remember in the early days that I had a form, a system, which was called Form. And it was the things to talk about with other people so that you could remember to have a conversation. And it was...
Do you remember what it was?
A little bit. I know it was FORM was the acronym, Form, and it was family, occupation, recreation, and then money, because you were trying to get them into the network marketing business. So when you talk to somebody, that would just give you a rough idea of the things to talk about. So talk about their family first. And so as you meet somebody, you can we do that in the salon. I tell them, just do the FOR. Forget the M. We're just going to do an acronym for FOR, family, occupation, recreation. Find out about their family when you're doing their hair, just to have a format for your conversation. So are you from here? Is your family from here? Or did a job move you out of town? You're like, oh yeah, my family's here, married, children. And then they'll start talking about they love to talk about themselves and if they're married or not, and if they have children or not. How old are they? What grades are they in? Oh, they're older. Are they married? So it's all about family at first. Sometimes that'll go for the next 4 or 5 visits, just family. You may never get to the next one, but if you can, occupation. So what do you do for a living? Instead of being the one just talking all the time, I'm a hairdresser, I'm so busy right now, I'm so busy, I'm working from so early so late because it's the holidays and I barely have any time for my life and and you just do that all day long to every single client. You're just a boring, sad, busy hairdresser. People would rather... That's why you're talking about yourself, because you like it. But people would rather talk about themselves. So just get a few probing questions, and then you don't have to talk so much. You can listen. Tell me about your job. So that was one of my favorites. I kind of skipped over the family, kind of did it kind of quick. Married, from here, great. What do you do for a living? And when they say, I'm an electrician, how did you get into that? Those 2 questions were the most powerful for me, because I liked money. So I like to know what they did for money and how they got into it. But when you say, how did you get into that? You could literally count to 10. And there'll usually be about 5 to 10 seconds of silence, because they're thinking of the whole story. They're like, Boy, you could be like, 4, 3,
right. And then
2, 1. They're like... So it all started when I was in Hawaii. This was one of the first ones I ever did. It was an electrician, and he was under his uncle in Hawaii. And I remember the story till this day, because it was like, this works. This guy he talked for like 30 minutes about how he got started under his uncle, hated it at first, then he started loving it, then he started making money, then he moved to the States, and I knew every state that he lived in, and now he lives next door to me, and he's an electrician, and it was just crazy how that was so powerful because he talked so much, and he loved me because I cared, and at the time,
ask and listen, right?
Yeah. Right. And then, of course, if you ever get to the recreation, the fun stuff, that's fun to do also. But it was just a way to have conversations. And you can do that at dinner parties. You meet people. It's just because a lot of people are just scared, like, I hate meeting new people at the party. Who do I know? Let me just go stand by them and just talk to them at Christmas, and that's it. And so I made it a point early on at all get-togethers, parties, family events, group meetings, whatever I'm at, I look around and I'm like, my goal is to not sit or talk to near the people I know the best. I go and try to seek out the most uncomfortable situation. Who do I definitely not know here? And it's just part of my personal growth is to go talk to the people I don't know and try to get to know them so that I can just expand my friend group.
So you just gave a great example. You
Yep.
set yourself a very specific goal. You wanted personal growth. You were going to measure it by talking to people. You were going to achieve it by going to this function, this mixer, wherever you were at, and you were going to try to talk to people. You kept it relevant, which is the R in SMART. You kept it relevant by not speaking to people you already know, but by going to people that you don't know outside of your comfort zone. And that, because if you stay within your own comfort zone all the time, if you just keep talking to the same people you know all the time, yeah, that'll help you grow, but how fast will it help you grow? Your personal growth, for that example, right? Forcing yourself to go talk to other people that you don't know, that is keeping it more relevant to that specific goal that you're trying to achieve, that you're trying to measure. And now that relevancy gets mixed up a lot. Because a lot of people,
I think it even covers the last letter of the SMART, right?
Oh, with the time bound. T is the time
during that party.
During that party, right? True. During that party. In what time frame are you gonna do what you're setting out to do? So that ties in really, really nicely. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So I think each person's got to get to know themselves. Like I said early on, for me, it's habits. I know that habits change my life, and motivation. Some people like to go to. I love motivation. I love motivational seminars. I like motivational talks. I listened to a lot of Zig Ziglar when I was younger, but even Zig Ziglar.
Wow.
I love that. I loved his name. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's passed away by now. I saw one of his last talks in front of people. He was getting so old and out of it that he still had a lot of good words in him, but he was kind of losing his mind, and he would repeat himself. At the end of the speech, he would just start it again. And he had some handlers, some good friends would come up there, grab him by the arms and be like, okay, Zig, we're going off now. So just for nostalgia, they'd let him go up there and do the presentation because we all loved him so much. But there'd be another 7 or 8 motivational speakers, and they walked him off the stage, and it was like, I got to see him at the end alive and well. But one of the things he said was that motivation's like a bar of soap or like a bath. I think it was like a bath. You don't just do it once. You need to keep doing it. So motivation, a lot of people think like, oh, I'm going to pay a lot of money, go out of town, do a motivational seminar, I'm good. It's very short-lived. You get very excited and inspired to do something new or different. And a lot of times motivational situations are manipulated to get something out of a person right away, like sell a book, get a donation, save an animal. And then 10 minutes later or a day later, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or I'm not going to do it again. I did it the once, I'm done. And so motivation doesn't change your life long term. But it's not a bad thing. It's just that you have to know that motivation is short-lived. And if you need motivation to move forward, you got to keep indulging in motivation. And so back when I did network marketing, and I loved it because it taught me a lot of the habits I do today. And they had some basic principles to continue to move forward. And back then it was books, tapes, and seminars when cassette tapes were a big thing. And so you should be always reading a book, like we talked about earlier, and you should always be listening somehow. And tapes went to CDs, CDs went to YouTube, and MP3 players. And so whatever way you listen, it had to be you had to be the seminars you could only do occasionally. So whether it was quarterly or semi-annually. And so in the hair world, for me, I brought that over to the hair world, and I'm like, you know what? I have to be going to a hair show at least once a year if I'm going to move forward in this industry. And then as far as the reading, it was American Salon, Modern Salon, Salon Today. I had to be reading the actual industry standard magazines to see what our industry is doing, what they're expecting. Right, wrong, agree with it, not agree with it. What are our trends? What are our peers saying we should be doing? Where are we moving as an industry? Go ahead.
Well, you said you reminded me of something, because you said something earlier too. Motivation is what gets you going, but you were talking about habits earlier.
Yep.
And
Right.
I think habits is that discipline that keeps you going. That
Discipline for sure.
Because motivation is the key thing. It's all in your mind. And if in your mind, if you think like, okay, I'm motivated, and you go to these seminars and you listen to these tapes and you read these inspirational stories, and you're like, oh yes, I'm pumped up, I'm gonna do this, right? That's all in your mind. I'm gonna do this. But then
Right.
you gotta physically do it. And that's where the habits come in. The habits are the physical manifestation, that discipline to keep you going towards your motivation, towards that goal that you've set. Because it's really easy to write something down. It's not, it's how you say, it's easy to talk, it's not easy to do.
Right.
So
Like this live that we're doing right now. We put it on the schedule. I don't always feel like showing up at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning to do this. I'm sure you don't either. Lucky for you, you're at home. You just walk down into the basement or whatever spare bedroom you're in.
Yeah, it's still not easy.
Some days are easier than others, and that's why we do it together, because we're accountability partners. We have to show up for each other, because it would look stupid if two guys are chatting. I mean, if two guys chat and only had one guy chatting.
And I've had to do it a couple of times because
Yes,
I've been out of
that's
town
true.
and we didn't want to lose the week. So there was that
Right.
as well, right?
Right. And so the habit of showing up, and it'll happen, and we almost always love it when it happens. So it's just a matter. It's kind of like what working out is. You just show up and do it, whether you like it or not. I'll tell you another habit that I do is we started the YouTube channel that we're on right now, and we made it a goal to answer every comment, answer every single comment of every. I look at a lot of YouTube, so I think about the ones that I look at to get the thousands of comments. I don't know if I'll be able to do it when that happens. But right now, the few comments we get, sometimes more than others, the goal is to answer them all. I'm not saying I can answer them all quickly or on the right day, but most of the time I do. So I get in a habit. That's the first thing I do in the morning when I wake up is pull up Profitable Stylist YouTube, look at the comments, and hopefully they're all positive so it doesn't ruin my day. And so then I can tell off the mean ones and thank the nice.
And then I can hear about it. This is why I drink tea and I have popcorn maker over here.
Right. So I get through answering them, and I'm like, got that out the way. And it's not a matter of loving it, motivated, happy, not happy. It's just something that I committed to do as a habit to change the future, because we made a commitment to people watching is to show up here and answer all the comments, because we also load a few other videos. But then other people in my team have other habits that make this work. They load videos that I make so many times a week and things like that. So did we get through all of the SMART goals? I want to make sure that we have covered that well.
We got through the SMART goals. I want to talk about tracking the goals.
Okay.
Because I think, talking about, because we were talking about on this on Facebook, and I want to make sure we talk about it here too, because I think that was also equally important. The journaling, tracking, however you want to refer to it as. We used to write everything down on pen and paper. With technology nowadays, you have your mobile device, you write it on your phone. You can even post it. You got social media.
Are you telling me you keep a diary?
When I first learned about it, I never did, because I'll tell you straight. I thought it was for girls. I thought that was something 12-year-old
That's
little
why.
girls do. They
That's
have their
why I
little
called it a
diary.
diary. I really
Right.
feel like the word journaling was a way to make guys feel less like it was a diary,
Then it was a
which
diary, which it is a
is the same
diary.
thing.
It's the
Basically the
same.
same thing. You're just
Yeah,
keeping
yeah.
track of your life, right?
So, and I remember specifically, I was in a meeting, I was in a sales training, and the leader, he said, the leader of the meeting, he said, journaling, journaling, keep saying journaling, journaling, and he keep describing it. And I'm like, in the middle of the class, like a jerk, here's me. I'm like, isn't that what 12-year-old little girls do? Like their little diary thing? And he just gave me like the look, like the parental look of disappointment. Like,
Well,
really, dude?
all old movies, all you ever saw was girls keeping a diary. Guys didn't keep diaries. And
But
they never really talked about journaling. So you're right. That was a newer thing over the last, I don't
he
know.
put it to
I
me like
say newer.
this. He goes, "You ever watch one of those old noir films, like the gumshoe, movies, like the old black and whites, where they're narrating over what's happening in the movie?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love that." He goes, "That's a diary. That's all, like that's also a form of it." So writing it down or posting it somewhere where you can visually see it every day, whether you're
So
doing it
many,
privately or publicly, that's what it's about.
many autobiographies or biographies, whether the person wrote about themselves or somebody else wrote about them, came from them, their old journals. People just kept track. A lot of the very successful people of our past journaled. It just wasn't talked about, or a lot of people didn't know about it. And so the journal, in a lot of ways, that's a lot of God. What is the guy that I watch on YouTube? He's a beekeeper, and he
Oh,
says,
okay.
He's in Canada, and he said, listen, he's got a lot of followers, but he wasn't doing it for the followers. He said, this was my way of journaling to keep track of how successful my beekeeping year was, because it got like 2 or 3 thousand beehives, and he has a farm. His brothers run the farm. He runs the bees, helps with the combines and all also. But he said, this way I go back last year and I watch a couple of the videos at this month and see what I was saying. So it's a way of tracking your goals also,
Yeah,
is
sure.
journaling. So whether you write it down or video it, I mean, if you're going to go back and read it or watch it, it can kind of show you where you can remember where you've been. And then I know this seems a little big for a lot of people. It's the start of most people's first book. If you just journal your life, just talk about what you're doing every day in your life. And I'm not saying I do it. I was never a journaler. But if you ever thought about writing a book at any time in your life, journaling helps you organize your thoughts, talks about your life, because you're going to forget most of the details. And then later on in life, if you do happen to become successful in any area of your life, you can refer back to the journals to write that book and that process of how you got to where what you did to get there. And that's what people want to know. They want to know the process and the details of how you got there.
I don't think people realize how much they do it on a daily basis.
Do what?
Journaling.
It's called texting now.
It's called but that right. You text each other and then you go, and if you don't delete the thread, you go back through and you reread some of the old text messages, and you're like that was a
Right.
record of your life. You
Yeah,
you
true.
take family photos every year to send a Christmas card, or you get together with friends and you take a selfie. Like that's a physical image record of your life. That's your diary of your life. You post online, and then a year goes by, and then it'll say, hey, here are your
Memories.
memories, right? That's the thing. You get married, you get a videographer, and he takes pictures, and you have that, whatever the marriage book is called, your wedding album. And then you go back and you look at that 10 years later after you got
Yeah.
divorced, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was fun.
You don't have
You
to get
know,
divorced.
I'm just I'm being goofy,
Right.
but like
Go
that,
back
that's
through
the whole
all your
thing.
marriages.
Go back to, oh God. Yeah, no, the one is good. Even if your checkbook, if you keep track of your finances, you are recording what you are doing. So you don't realize, if you're driving for work, you track your mileage. Like everything is a record. It's just subjective to how motivated you want to keep yourself mentally to say, oh, this is cool or this is not cool. If you're trying to set a goal and you're trying to be profitable and you're trying to move forward in your life, personal goal, growth, financial, faith, family, whatever you're trying to do, you got to get over your personal hangups, and you have to do
Yep.
what it takes to move forward to get it done.
And
And
why are we going
that's
over
that
goals
habit.
like? Why are we going over goals like right now? What's this? What's the significance of the timing?
It's the end of the year. Christmas is Monday, right? So it's what are we? December 21st right now of 2023. Next
Right.
month, next week is Christmas, and then next week after that is New Year's and New Year's resolution. I'm gonna start doing this.
Right. So obviously,
2024 is gonna be the year.
and the reason why I say that is if you're watching this video and it's June or July in any year, start right now. You don't have to wait till the first of the year to start your goals. But coincidentally, or I don't know, traditionally, people tend to make these big lifelong commitments, whether they do it for an hour or a day or two or what. People tend to start new things with the new year, right? I mean, a lot of New Year's resolutions, like you were saying, gym memberships are really up in January, and then nobody shows in February, even though they're paying for it, because you paid for the whole year usually, or you're committed to monthly, and you'll still pay for a few more months because you're still thinking you're going to go back for a few. You don't cancel.
Take this month off. I did really good in January, so I'm going to have a cheap month.
Right, right. So it's a good time of year, right at the end of December, between Christmas and New Year's, to set your new goals. And I still say just set it a little further along than where you are now. Just do it no matter what. Put it down, whether you write it on paper, type it in notes, and make that top word, goals. That way you can find it and put the year so you can kind of, I don't know, remember when it was. Because when you find that, and if it's not dated, you're going to wonder how long it's been. I know Notes keeps track of it, but if you change something in there, it changes the date. So you want to write the date in there just so it doesn't change. And I'm talking iPhones. I know Androids are different. I don't know if it's called Notes or what.
It's
was
called
it?
Notes, and it remembers when you actually created your original thing.
And when you change words in the notes, does the date change?
It just puts an edit that says it was updated on this date.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know you're trying to make fun of the iPhone. I'm not really sure. I think the date changes when you edit it, and it makes it like a brand new one right then. So
yeah, no, I'm just I love goofing off with you about that.
Yeah.
One day you'll technologically advance and come over to Android.
You think so?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I've been on both sides. So what have we not covered about goals? Wow, the time has really flown by. I really enjoyed this one. I didn't even realize it's already 10:40.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think we should. Okay. So here, start off like you said this a couple of times, and it's important. Start off small. Don't just say this year I'm gonna do this. Or rather, if you say you're gonna do this year, how are you gonna get to that year? What are you gonna do today to get through to tomorrow? What are you gonna do tomorrow to get through to the next day, to get through the end of the week? And then once that week is up, what are you gonna do for the next week to get you towards the next week? So every day builds to the next day, and it gets to a week, and then you keep doing that habit every single day. And now that next week leads to the following week. And then you get to a month. So you keep doing everything every single day to get through every week, to get through every month. And then every month becomes bi-monthly, becomes quarterly, becomes biannually, becomes annually. Now you start achieving yearly goals very easily. And then you start making a 5-year plan. A 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a retirement plan, like whatever. The sky is the limit. There is no limitation, and there is no rule that says you have to do that or that. And this category graphic that you're putting up right here on your phone, pull it back a little bit so you can see it just a little bit better. I mean, that is a beautiful thing, right? Because if you can keep the balance between all of those things going on in those 9 categories. You gave a good example. Then you got your wheel spinning, and if you miss one, then you go flat on one of the sides. Then you start getting bumps in the road.
Yeah.
I like that.
RJ had shared this in our staff meeting the other day, and I thought it's a lot more areas than I had ever looked at before. But I thought I'd show it here. People can go back and screenshot it if they need a little help on what areas in their life they might want to make goals in. So I'll read them really quick, going all the way around. But yeah, if you're missing one, you got a little flat spot on your wheel, you're going to be rolling Like this.
And it's a good beat sometimes, but
Well, when you it's like when you grab that wrong cart at Target or Walmart, and it's like clunk, 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 clunk. I go right back and get another basket. Friends, body, mind, spirit, mission, money, growth, family, love. It's a lot. It's a lot of categories. It's 9 categories. It's a lot to think about. If you don't do them all, it's fine. You can make a smaller circle. But, you know, if any of those really speak to you, that's some good areas to start with. If you want to start small, maybe you do just do faith, family, and finances. You know, you can make up a few of your own. It's just some people need a little help knowing where they should start. Some people don't have any family. So you don't really, maybe it's, you know, maybe you don't need family just yet. Maybe you're just single, just moved out on your own. It's just, all you got to worry about is you and paying the bills, you know? Things change along the way.
I'll tell you this. What was it? 2 years ago, we started this channel.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, you know what? We're just going to do this every week.
Yeah.
And then after the first year, we were like, oh, that was pretty cool. All right. You know what? One of these days, we're going to get to 1 million views and 100,000 subs, right?
I never believed we'd be at 1 million.
And I never thought, I'm like, yeah, cool. All right. We'll just keep
I thought
doing
we'd quit. I thought we'd quit before then. Or you'd quit. No, one of us.
We just hit 1 million views.
I know. Isn't it crazy?
We just hit 1 million views, right? And we're at 68,000 subs. So that 100,000 is actually pretty realistic now. It's not a dream. It's actually a thing.
I remember when RJ said he was at church asking a few of his friends to subscribe, and because I think we were trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and it was like
1,000, yeah,
we need like another 9 or 10. Can you you can even just wait a week and you can unsubscribe if you don't like our channel. Just do it as a friend, you know. And so trying to get the views, the subscribers, the recognition. I used to check for comments and then he'd be texting me like, you gotta come. I quit checking because there were just none 4 days in a row. A week there's no comments on any of our videos. Nobody was watching or cared, so there was nothing to answer. You start feeling stupid checking it. Now we get comments almost every day. Sometimes we'll go a day or 2 without a comment. And if we go 2 days, I usually text him like, we haven't had any comments in 2 days. Something wrong?
Do something. Right. Yeah. Is the channel broken? Is something happening?
Right. I kind of enjoy the comments. Most are positive. I've even enjoyed the negative ones. But the activity is fun. I like knowing that we're helping people. A lot of people are like, this is the best hair cutting, extension cutting video I've ever seen. This is the best placement pattern. This is the best hair replacement I've ever seen, because we got a few high performing videos, and it's fun to help change people's lives. And they call, they text, they message, and we get to go a little further. And then some people take our classes, and then we get to help them make more money doing higher end, more profitable services. So one of our goals in the beginning was to help stylists succeed, help them make more money, help them be more profitable. And that's where the Profitable Stylist came from. So trying to help stylists be more profitable, I felt like was a fun goal. I enjoy money. I like where I've gotten. I always want more, but I enjoy where I am. And I think, God, there was no real clear road to get here. I just kept trying. And I got here. I'd like to help a few other people skip the aggravation and the figuring it out if they want to listen. Some people don't care. I remember, this is part of what frustrates me with some of my own children. Did I say that out loud? With young people and where they're moving in life. I remember thinking when I was going to church, had a few wealthy friends. They probably didn't think we were friends, but I thought we were friends. I'm sitting next to them in church, and one's a doctor, one's the pastor, one owns his own business, and they're so freaking successful. And I'm just getting started cutting hair. I barely got enough clients, barely got enough money to survive. And I remember one of my thoughts was, I can't wait till this is such a weird thought. This was my thought. There's a lot of time and hours during the day. I'm sitting here doing nothing. I don't even know how to move forward in any part of my life to make more money. I want there to be a time in my life, and this is not balanced, but this was my thought at the time. I want there to be a time in my life where I can move towards a position. I don't even know how to get there, but I got to get there where at any time of the day, I could do something to move my life forward financially. That was my goal at the time. I wanted to be doing something. And that's why I got into network marketing. I was trying to do Amway at the time, because then I was like, at any time, day or night, I could go out and meet a stranger and try to get them in the business and talk to them about how to sell soap. That's mostly what we sold back then, laundry detergent and household cleaning products. But as a hairdresser, I couldn't do something all hours of the day. There was no social media back then either. It was barely internet when I first got started. And so those first few years, it was like, there's so many during my waking hours, what can I do to move forward? That's what my goal was. So I did achieve that goal. Like right now, I now have to do the opposite. Stop doing things for a little while to move forward and just relax for a minute. That's what planned vacations are for. Like, could you not do anything with work for a little while? Because now I could literally work somehow on the internet, social media, do a video, do a training video, make a phone call, do a text. I could literally spend every waking hour moving forward in life, but I probably shouldn't. And that's where work-life balance comes in, or just a balance in general.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's where we're at.
You don't know what to say.
No, look, man, I think that's a beautiful
It's a weird thought. It's a weird thought, but that's where it started for me, like making goals.
Look, I'll tell you, my goal in life was, you know my story, and I'm not gonna say it here on YouTube. It's a sad story, but my goal in life was to be able to afford to eat every day. There was a time in my life where I literally couldn't eat food every single day.
Right. That's a good goal.
That was my whole thing. That was my goal in life, was to be able to afford to eat. And I've made it. And I'm married. I never thought I'd get married in my life. I'm married, right? And the only time I ever, like, people think my marriage with Carmelina is really weird because her and I don't fight with each other. We don't argue.
The funny thing is, I heard this story from somebody else not too long ago. I think it was RJ that told me that y'all's only fight is about food, because it was a big part of your early life, right?
Seriously. So
that is interesting.
She is a very stickler about the expiration dates on things, or about leftovers. And she's like, tossing it. And I'm like, oh, do not throw that.
You're like, it's still good for another couple of days.
I'm like, I will eat that. She's like, it's going to hurt your stomach. And I always tell her, Bernard, I go like this. I say, I'd rather have my stomach ache from a full stomach than a stomach ache from an empty stomach. Do not go near that can. Give me it. I'm going to eat it right now. I'll eat the whole freaking thing right now. That was my goal in life, and I've made it. So now, now I have more goals. I have new goals now, but
yeah. Along with your mental problems.
Oh, along with my stomach aches.
That's the cause of the mental problem. Cause and effect.
So so I will say to you, Merry Christmas, my friend. I will say everybody else watching, Merry Christmas, or whatever merry your holiday is.
I know. I don't know all the holidays that everybody celebrates.
I don't know all of them, so in all respect, I'll say, I know I have Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, I think, is the politically correct thing to say.
Fair enough.
And for you that don't celebrate holidays, just have a happy year. Make some goals.
Have a happy year, and we'll catch you all next week. Thank you for watching.